guys! In today's video, I'm going to be doing 5 easy slime recipes in 5 minutes plus some slime ASMR, and I really hope that you enjoy this video. The first slime we're going to be making is slushy slime, and this is actually a super easy recipe. First up, I used school glue from Elmer's, and then I used some vegetable glycerin. And the main thing I use vegetable glycerin for is just to make it a bit more stretchy and make sure the beads don't fall out. I also like to add a bit of scent just so it smells nice, and this is from Just Scent. With the activator, it actually activates a lot more slowly because of the glycerin. Glycerin actually melts down slime as well as making it thick when you add it in small quantities. So when you're doing it, you do really need to activate it a lot more than you usually do with slime, but you have to make sure you don't activate it too much when you're adding beads. The main reason for this is beads need somewhere to stick in, so if it's not a sticky solution, the beads will simply fall out. To make sure this is really thick, I do tend to just add a tiny bit of activator at a time and knead it in, and if any beads fall out or it starts to feel tough, then I just stop activating it. One of my favourite ways to customise slushy slimes is simply by adding food dye in one half and leaving the other half plain. If you like, you can garnish the slime with whatever toppings you like. I like to add some clay sprinkles afterwards, and then I find the slime's perfect. Following on from the last tutorial, you can also make this into a butter slushie, which is a huge trend at the moment, and my favourite way to do this is to get a 9-ounce container. I've actually reused a Slime OG container, this was for Lavender Squish, and I filled it up until the line. And the best way to do this is by using soft polymer clay, and the main reason for this is although it has a wet consistency, it doesn't make any of the beads fall out and it stays really soft. I tried it with 2 different formulas, so the first one was adding different types of clay. I think it was a mix of Modelite, Model Magic, and also soft polymer clay, and this was a lot more dry and thick to mix in, but it kind of just didn't work as well, and there was a lot of bead fallout even though it was drier. And with the second method, when I just added polymer clay, this was a lot easier. I just used food dye to colour it, and when I added it in, it was so soft and so creamy to mix in. The only downside is it does have a tiny bit of a wet residue, which doesn't bother me too much, especially if you're going to sell this. I don't recommend using any other clay than soft polymer clay. Moving on, we have one of my favourite slime textures at the moment, and this is a snow fizz. First up, we're going to need some white glue. I actually recommend using a thicker glue than school glue. I use school glue just because that was what I had lying about, and then I add some glycerin. And again, we need stuff to stick in, and we also need it to be really stretchy. And with snow fizzes, they get very hard, so I like to add some moisturiser and also some food dye just to loosen up the mixture. And then I add some activator, and this is a weird one. Again, it doesn't activate too well because of the glycerin, so I leave this quite sticky, and then I start kneading it and adding a tiny bit more activator if needed before adding some plastic snow. And the plastic snow, it looks like a lot when you're adding it in, but trust me, it all goes into the slime very easily and it turns into this really crunchy texture. And the best way to do this is just by constantly dipping your pre-made slime in. If you add it when you're kind of like mixing the glue in, sometimes you can add too much and it doesn't form a slime, but this is what it turns out when you just add it in the late stage. If you really like crunchy slimes, I recommend adding snow fizzes with clear slime as well. And the best thing about this is you can make this into a really colourful DIY like I did. I made it kind of like a snow cone, and the clear slime just brings out so much more of the ASMR qualities, and it's way more fun to mix in my opinion. Next up, we're going to be making jelly slimes, and this is always so hard for me to make. I always accidentally make ices, but basically the way you make this is by using clear glue, some foaming hand wash just so when the bubbles come up from the snow it just makes it clearer a lot quicker, then some glycerin. You don't have to add glycerin, I probably wouldn't if I did this again, it's just so it becomes a bit more stretchy, but I quite like thick ones, so if you do, skip that stage. And then just some colouring and some activator, and you want to make this fully activated before you add anything in. The next step is a really weird one, and you have to go against your instincts for this, because usually with instant snow you need to add water to it, but because this mixture already has so much water in it with the foaming hand wash, I normally find that you can just put in dry snow, and I put in about 2/3 of a teaspoon worth into the snow, into the slime even directly, and then I just leave it overnight after mixing it in, and it looks really bitty. Obviously it's quite dry, and then when you take it out it comes out like a jelly slime. Last but not least, we have how to make DIY clay sculpture slime, and this is way easier than it actually looks. I used to be so bamboozled by it, but now I'm absolutely in love with it. And for the base, I literally just use glue and activator. If you're familiar with making slime, I recommend using maybe 1 or 2 teaspoons more of borax in this and just like really mix it up, because that will make your slime super thick. And then you just need to use the polymer clays, and again, this is the one that transports the best, it's least likely to dry out. And I coloured this 3 colours with food dye, and they looked like marshmallow twists when I like twirled them around, and literally all you have to do is twirl them. So then the way to transport them is just by putting them either in a slime container or one of these containers, and this one is from Corn with Slime. She transported it through like international post and it didn't dry up, so I think this is a really great way to transport it. And then I piled them all up and just enjoyed my creation. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you next week.